You're listening to Career Compass with Patrick and Cha-Cha on Base 101.1 FM.
Hey guys, it is time for Career Compass. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. How you feeling?
Good. How's the weekend?
It was great. It was beautiful. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you, Cha-Cha.
Now, of course, we're not going to start off the show without you telling me what your weekend was like. I mean, you're a professional, but you they flex. Well.
It was a low-key weekend.
Is it?
It was a very, very low-key weekend. Just wanted to rest, recharge, and, fired up for the week.
Okay.
So, very low-key.
Very low-key. I love it.
Adventure.
No, we want adventures. Anyways, Lagos, if you just tuned in, you're welcome. Let's talk about office environment. Apparently, some people believe that if you have a relationship or a broken relationship in a workplace, that you should try to fix it. While some other people on this side of town feel like they don't really care about mending work relationships. But firstly, let's start off talking about what a relationship is. When we're talking working relationships, we're talking about colleagues, yes?
Yes, not the romantic type.
I can't wait for us to have that conversation.
We will. But I mean, we're just starting off with, so we spend, I'd say, the most amount of our day at work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only natural that we form some form of rapport.
Right.
It could be with our colleagues, our line managers, team members, up, down, across the organization.
Mm-hmm.
We form rapport with people, and sociologists will say man is a social animal. Right. So you put any set of people in any organizational setting, bonds would form naturally. So sometimes, life happens.
Right.
These bonds get tested. As we know, even twins have their moments. So these moments happen at work, and sometimes sometimes we could fix the relationship, and sometimes we can't.
Right.
But today we will be talking about what we can do when these relationships we formed at work
are broken. Some people say that your work friends or your work people are not real people, that you should be able to differentiate between relationships at work, and we spend most of our time with our colleagues. So do you believe that, people you meet at work are not really your friends? So
again, this is my personal opinion, right? So I've been called out on this view. I hold a very strong view that, look, your colleagues, it's difficult for your colleagues to become friends because of the fact of the nature of the relationship you have with your colleagues. And one of the things that color the relationships you have at work is competition.
Right.
You guys are breathing the same air, you're competing for the same resources, the same roles, you're fighting for the same attention from the same boss. You're looking for the same favor from the same person. So it's difficult to form a genuine friendship within such. You can form alliances, right, where you have a common goal, a common interest, but it's difficult to form friendships, and many times these friendships are formed when you stop being colleagues. Then you could focus on the friendship, but many times, because there's a different goal inside, it's difficult to form genuine friendships. Of course, there's an exception to every rule,
right?
But the general rule is, it's difficult to form friendships at work, and it's not even professionally advisable to go to work looking for friendships. Of course, you always meet the one or two people that you make the exception to the rule for. All right.
So the funny thing is, I feel like you can create lifelong friends from workplaces because we spend our time there. What would you say is the common cause that you've seen that breaks relationships at work?
All right. So, because it's work, right? And like you said, work comes first, right? So one of the major reasons that professional relationships could hit the rocks would be if work expectations are not met. So no matter how friendly you are with somebody, if the person is not doing their job, which is the real reason why they are there in the first place, that relationship will be heading for the rocks at full speed. All right. So, and the expectations could be both ways. A line manager has expectations colleagues have expectations, team members have expectations from even their line managers. So say you hired someone and you promised them, oh, upon confirmation we'll give you a promotion, and that doesn't happen. It becomes an unmet expectation, and that could just sour the entire relationship, as it were. Competition and jealousy. Remember I said it's difficult for you to make friends or of your colleagues, because whether you like it or not, it's an elephant in the room. You guys are competing. So if that competition is unhealthy, it could sour the relationship. Oh, this person played you an underhanded move. It happens, right? Jealousy is also another. Envy and jealousy could be another key factor to ruining a work relationship. Oh, this person gets the promotion that you were hoping to get, and y'all can't be friends no more. I think this should have come first. Gossiping and backbiting. He said,
he said, she said, they said,
I heard, you said, she said, he said, that's I said, and I never said. So, all those gossiping, all those kind of conversations, you said, he said, they ruin relationships, especially when you hear that I hear that you said that she said, and I do not confirm the rumor I heard that you said that she said that I said. You just say hello to me and I just
move on.
I'll answer you in one type of way, and you're like, what's wrong with him? What's he feeling like? And so that's the power struggles, turf wars, like I call them. That's my job. What's Chacha doing? That's I'm supposed to be the one to handle this particular responsibility, and Chacha comes in, whether knowingly or unknowingly. She does it, and to her, I'm just doing my job. But so those kind of power struggles are also another cause for broken relationships at work. Personal issues. So somebody has issues at home, and you don't separate your personal and your professional life. You bring over your personal issues
that happens
to the office.
a lot.
It happens a lot, yeah. So you had a terrible night. Maybe you had a quarrel with your spouse at home, and then you come to the office wearing a long face. Everybody tries to cheer you up. You shout them down. So yeah, I know of a particular situation where a particular manager, he was having marital issues at home, so he's in the office as early as 5 a.m. and he's still in the office as late as 11 p.m. because he cannot, or he doesn't.
He just wants to go home and sleep.
He doesn't want to go home. So he just wants to stay back in the office, and because he's a manager, everybody else in the team, if your manager is in the office by 5 a.m., what's your resumption time?
5 a.m.
Yeah, if your manager closes from work by 11 p.m., what's your closing time?
11:30.
So you have disgruntled team members because their manager has personal issues and is now affecting their relationships at work. And then I'll just wrap up with miscommunication and different styles. So Chacha is your happy fairy. That's your style. And then you have somebody else who's more conservative, who's more mild, more.
Excuse you. What are you saying?
I'm just saying
I'm
just saying that you have your style. Okay. You have your personality. You're the happy fairy. That's you. And then somebody else who is just an example. Somebody else who comes from a much more conservative background may just look at you as that loud
noise maker.
God bless you.
When she enters, everybody has to know she's around.
Must everybody know that Chacha is around? You know, but so that sometimes could just lead to conflicts at work.
Now, how do I, because of my type of personality, I don't mean to say I don't care about other people, but sometimes I'm me. And if you're carrying fists or you have an issue with me, I don't even see it. I'm just in my bubble moving on. Now, for people like me, what are the telltale signs of being in a broken professional relationship? How can we tell that this person is not, messing with me like they should?
All right, good question. So there's some giveaway signs that you use to know that the relationship is
off.
it's off. Yeah. So one of the first signs in the workplace you see is avoidance. All right. So you send this person an email, they don't respond. You send them a WhatsApp message, they don't respond. You say hello to them, they don't respond, or they respond very coldly. I call that avoidance. So they just try to, this person, you see that this person is intentionally avoiding you, avoids your emails, avoids your calendar requests for a meeting, avoids, you know, anything from your workflow.
That will piss me off.
Yeah, so, you know, that's one of the subtle ways you could tell that a relationship is not as it used to be. But meanwhile, somebody else sends them an email and they respond immediately. Somebody else sends them a WhatsApp message, they're responding immediately. They're airing your calls. They're just, you know, being unresponsive. You know, that's one tell. Another more obvious tell is negative communication. You know, you say hello to them and they give you a sarcastic half response, you know, all these passive aggressive type of responses. You know, you could also use that's a clear tell that, you know, things are not right. Lack of collaboration. So there's this difficulty working with this person just doesn't want to relate with you. You know, once you guys have an assignment that you're supposed to collaborate on, the person is just being unnecessarily difficult, right? That's another way. And then you hear that this person says a lot of stuff behind your back. You're always hearing conversations that this person has said about you, you know, from a third party, but you know, you're right there in the same office with this person and this person doesn't say anything to you. So that's breakdown of communication could be another tell that, you know, that relationship is having issues.
You know, something interesting, if you've ever heard that I said something about you, please come and ask me. I'll say the same thing to your face. I would absolutely do it. Initially,
some relationships can be salvaged, some cannot, but here's some reasons why I think you should make an attempt to mend those relationships if they go sour. One, for your peace of mind. I'd also stated that we spend the largest amount, in fact, I tell you the truth, Chacha, you spend more time with your colleague than you spend with your spouse. If you're doing a regular 9 to 5.
I was going to say.
Yes, because you do a shift, it may be different.
Yeah.
But general rule is that you spend more time with your colleagues than you spend with anyone else.
True.
So for the sake of your peace of mind, you might as well spend the time happily. Right? So give it a try to make peace if you can. Right? So for the sake of your peace of mind, I would say please try to make peace. Secondly, your productivity. All right, you are here to work with this person.
True. And
the work would be achieved faster, better, much better quality if you have a good rapport.
Now, we did speak about, you know, mending, how to know somebody has issues with you at work. Now, you know, Patrick is advising that we try to mend relationships. I, on the other hand, I feel like you should just walk and they move. But what if the other person is resistant or unwilling to engage in repairing the relationship?
Yeah, so, I mean, you've tried, okay, and the person doesn't want to come to the table to try and, you know, make a way forward. So my first suggestion will be seek mediation, get a third party involved. So if I have an issue with Chacha, for example, and Chacha doesn't want to hear me out, who does Chacha listen to? If Chacha is close to Ajing, you know, I just talk to Ajing, you know, let me talk to Chacha, I don't know what's going on, you know, get a third party to mediate. It could be formal or informal. Formal will be when you now report Chacha to HR. All right, look, I keep on, this relationship is affecting my work and you need HR to officially step into this matter, and in line with company policy, HR would try to mediate that particular relationship. Then next up, I say, look, focus on your own behavior. If you can't change somebody else, you can change yourself. So focus on what you need to do, all right, what is within your control. You can focus on your reactions, how you react to that person, and how to keep the interactions professional. And then look, accept limitations.
Right.
That's what it is. Okay, it's no longer, like I said, some relationships can be mended, but the flip side is at the end of the day, some relationships it will never be the same anymore, depending on, you know, what happened and how each party received what happened. So if it is what it is, as they say, let it be.
Right.
Accept the fact that it can't be what it once was. And then you may want to consider, I won't say termination in the sense of you losing a job or changing jobs, but you could decide to move to another department, another subsidiary of the business, ask for another line manager, change job, change company, do whatever you need to do to get your peace of mind.
Right.
Because I keep saying your peace of mind is very important.
Quite.
You spend a lot of time in the office, and you might as well enjoy the time you spend in the office. And finally, you know what? Give it time. Time is the number one healer. All right. So sometimes with time, people get over things, and you find out that, hey, you find out it wasn't so serious in the first place, right? It wasn't that deep, you know, and then you and that person have moved over it and treat it like it's history.
You know, one thing I feel that is more important than mending relationship is creating healthy relationships in the workspace. Like, you know, we both have contradictory ideas where I feel like sometimes you can make genuine friendships at work, but you are of the opinion that it shouldn't be so. Do your work and go. I don't know whether all HRs think like that, but yes, we're just going to move on. But how can you build a strong relationship in the workplace, which is quite important?
Yeah, so I mean, before we get to the bridge of mending relationships, right, it's important that you understand how to build long-lasting relationships. And the first thing I'll say is that it starts from understanding yourself. Understand your strengths and your weaknesses. So, for example, Chacha, I said, look, she's the, happy person. She doesn't really, things don't get to you, right? So when you understand the kind of personality you have, you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, you know the size of your toe. So people do not easily step on it.
Wow, I never heard that reference before.
You need to know how large your toe is so that people are not always stepping on it, right? So you know what triggers you, you know the kind of things you can tolerate. So for example, one of the quickest ways to get me to tune out is if you once you raise your voice at me, shout at me, boy, I just tune out. So I know that that's a weakness of mine, and I need to develop a thicker skin, right? So if it happens at work, I remind myself, hey, your skin needs to get thicker, right? So I don't get easily triggered because I already am aware of that weakness I have. So many people at work, and they don't, first of all, recognize their strengths and their weaknesses as well, because once you know your weakness, it becomes, you easily recognize the trigger before it happens. I learned this lesson a bit late, but better late than never. When you come to the office, it's not just about work. You need to intentionally make out time to forge relationships with people, with your colleagues, up, down, across. All right. Once upon a time, I just focused on being good at my job, learning the technical parts of my job. Once you just give my laptop, I'm there, I'm doing my job. But eventually, later on in my career, I realized that, look, the people are your job. Right. You're not a machine. You work with people. So it's important to connect with the people you work with, forge these relationships, and you find out that at the end of the day, even the work stands a better chance of being done much more productively because you have a good rapport with the people you're working with. And finally, I'll say, keep on asking questions. Ask questions and listen. So this colleague says, they don't like being spoken to in this manner. Listen to them. Right. This is the best approach to get this done from this person. Listen and just listen and learn and keep on working with all the different people you have to work with at the workplace. In conclusion, for any relationship to be mended, both parties must be willing to come to the table, right? And sometimes some relationships, you have to accept the fact that some relationships will never be able to be mended. You just accept it and move on.
You're listening to Career Compass with Patrick and Cha-Cha.